What's good, Relocation Football League fans? It's your boy Smitty, joined here along with Forbes as always for the pod. Nick said he's going to be able to join us next week, so make sure to tune in for when he returns. We got a crazy week one to recap. Man, as you can see from the title of this podcast, is listed as "What did Week One tell us?" and what an amazing Week One it was. We're of course, going to dive into that. Just to also give let you guys know how we're going to dive quickly through the beginning of these recaps. Is I'm going to show the final, not this week, but next week. I'm going to show the final score. So these are all the final scores from what happened from the game on the same graphic that showed what the games were and all the scores. But I'm actually going to go into the individual detailed graphics that we usually have just for tonight. But I'm planning on trying to see if I can find time to do like video cut up edits for each game, so that way it could be like something to display while we talk about specific topics. But these were the final scores. We're going to get into those, but just again another quick look at that. And yeah, with that being said, not going to waste too much time. We're going to get straight into the week one recap, getting a look at the first game that opened up the season. And of course, it was the Condors, the reigning champs, who got it done. Who didn't get it done, as they were at home against the new looking Elks with brand new franchise quarterback Jacob McCall. And boy, did he look like he was franchise ready after the performance that he was able to put on. 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions, was highly efficient. Rarely was getting pressure, just found ways to get that ball out of his hands. We know the Condors defense definitely took a step back, but it was still a tremendous performance from Jacob McCall in his first game with the Elks. And he was able to best, Chase McCoy in this game, who also had himself a great game, over 350 passing yards for him and 3 total touchdowns. One he had through the air, but 2 of them he had in the ground early on in close goal line situations. What is your thoughts on Jacob McCall and how he performed? Well, actually, I have topics here that I still have, so let me go ahead and see what specific topic I have for this game. But yeah, are the Elks, from what you saw from the Elks, would you believe that this is a playoff bound team?
A playoff bound team, I think it's too early to say. I think they're still on the outside looking in, and that's not so much to do with the Elks, but with how much talent is already in the NRC. If you want to take the 4 division winners right away, whether it be the Snowhawks in their division, any of the teams from my division, the Steamers, and then what's the last one? The Lumberjacks or Explorers. You take those division winners, well, they still have to beat out the Diablos or Thunderbirds if the Desperados win it. They still have to beat out the Explorers and Barons if the Lumberjacks win it. They still have to beat out the Marshals and Shamrocks if the Steamers win it. I think there's just too many teams above them in the NRC to say that they're playoff bound just yet.
All right, what's your thoughts on McCall and how he was able to perform? Do you feel like this is his team, like the team best fits his playing style, and could he be that long-lasting quarterback that this franchise has been looking for?
If he keeps playing like this, absolutely. Having 3 touchdowns, coming out and beating the reigning RFL Reload Bowl champion. This is definitely the most comfortable I think he's looked. I mean, he's in his 4th year on his 3rd team, but it already looks night and day from how he performed last year and the money he had last year. If he plays like this throughout the rest of the season, I think it's a no-brainer that he gets a new contract. I think it's a no-brainer that they lock him down as their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, phenomenal performance by him. Not really too much to say in this one. Just great performance by McCall. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next game. As again, great win for the Elks as they won it 31-24. The following game the next day, starting off the doubleheader. You were in the booth, of course, calling this one in Atlanta. The Thunderbirds were looking to try to get their get back against the Desperados, but again fell short. 3 straight wins the Desperados have over the Thunderbirds. Now, it was a crazy game that really came down to the wire. Should have went into overtime if it wasn't for disciplinary issues. And the Desperados were able to best them on the road 28-21. Um, a question I do have here is what's your thoughts on the game? And I guess we could start with this is has the Thunderbirds defense fallen off and will the offense sink in time with the new weapons they've got?
Well, I think the offense is already in sync. You can see there, Q-Block had 10 for 84, and that's without the 70-yard touchdown that got called back.
Yeah.
So, Q-Block was on pace to have a 150-yard game as his first ever game as a Thunderbird. I think the offense will be okay. They put up 21 points. They threw for 364 on the card there. But I do think that especially the secondary of the Thunderbirds has taken a step back. Morincola is what, 33 now?
Yeah, he's up there.
Something like that. Yeah. As is a sub 85 overall. It really felt like in the corners it was ESJ or bust if they were throwing to one of those receivers, whether it be Henry Moss most of the times, Rohan had a drop. But what I'm more concerned about is that front four of the Thunderbirds. I don't think Marquise Washington was sacked all game, and that's just inexcusable. It doesn't matter what quarterback you're going against. It doesn't matter what O-line you're going against. When you have an offensive or a defensive line as good as the Thunderbirds with Bodine, Max Knight, Jake Wycheck, and whatnot, you expect to have at least one sack, but to have zero, I think is something they have to look at.
Yeah, definitely a big letdown there. I did a good job containing the run game yards wise from Tavion Hall, but he did manage to find the end zone twice, so that was big for them. LC3, who you talked, who we spoke on, I mean, was highly efficient for the most part within this game. Over 350 yards, like you said, the 2 touchdowns, and he led the team in rushing with 66 on 7 scramble attempts. So over 400 yards of offense from him. Great performance from Q-Pock. He's fitting in well. You're just hoping, the defense, which you never hear from, about the Thunderbirds, gets themselves in check and is able to get back to their glory days. I don't know if they'll get back to anything that great, but they'll get back to they have a shot or have no choice but to try to get back to something close to at least last season. But we will find out, of course, as time goes on. The second game following this one, Pecan in the booth calling a legendary overtime game. He called an overtime game in his first college football game, college series game, which we can remember with North Carolina State in Tennessee that went in overtime. It was a wild one, and this was a wild one as well to remember for DJ, the clutch man who was able to pull off a reminiscent game-winning touchdown run in OT like he did back in his rookie season against the Elks as they were able to best the Lumberjacks 33-30. There, Forbes.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah, I was
the
just
last
moving
two
it
games
up.
in before we started, I thought you had like another topic you were
Oh yeah,
about to throw my way.
yeah. I didn't have
That's
nothing
why I
for
was.
this one. Just a great thoughts on the game.
Oh,
Yeah, my bad.
oh. I mean, it was an amazing game. Our first overtime game of the series, like you said on your post, we 3 straight RFL classics to start the season. You can't ask for anything more. Both of these teams throwing for over 300, rushing for over 100 as a team. Both offense got whatever they wanted when they wanted to. The only thing I'd pay attention to is maybe Daryl Johnson getting sacked 6 times throughout this game. Obviously, they won, so that's what's most important. But Chase Schilling with 2, Hatcher with 1.5, Bird with 1, Roby with a sack, Uron with half a sack. Wear and tear is a huge thing. This season, we saw 3 quarterbacks in week 1 get subbed out due to wear and tear. And if your quarterback's going to be taking 6 sacks a game, that's not good. So I think they need to figure something out in the offensive line. Daryl Johnson ran into a couple I saw, so he's got to be aware of that. But overall, just an amazing game all around.
Yeah, the Lumberjacks too. Just again, great performing team. They were able to win the division last year. Of course, Explorers' first year missing it was last season, as they made the playoffs every other year in franchise history. But it looks like they're shaping right back into form. But the Lumberjacks are definitely not going to just give this division away. They're showing, especially with how competitive this was, that they are here to stay. So this is going to be quite the interesting rivalry to tune in year after year. And then also one guy to point out, I mean, Trey McClellan was bagging them. I mean, they had the most atrocious gear. But we got to see for the first time, really, Rashad Chamberlain showing his age. I mean, he's always been locked down, a corner you could never throw on, but McClellan and the guys are getting a little bit of the best of them on a couple plays like that. So, it's getting to that time where you're just seeing guys who used to be these elite guys, even talking about Alex Morincola. He used to be a lockdown corner you never wanted to see, and now they're just starting to slowly fade and not be able to keep up with the talent. Still a 95 overall cornerback, by the way, so do not sleep on Rashad Chamberlain. Even had a pick six in the preseason. So yeah, don't sleep on him. You better have a good enough receiver to still make plays, but definitely not invincible as it seemed that he used to be in the past. Great play though by him. And then of course I got to give Caleb Houston a shout out because I mean he led all receivers in receiving yards at the end of week 1 with 172 and a touchdown. And shout out to Caleb too. He came back in the RFL Discord server. He was able to watch his game and everything. Sent a chat and was chatting with him a little bit on Instagram. He had made a post, so obviously he was watching. I was like, "Hey man, where you been at, man? Like, just saw you lead the Discord." But he just said, "Hey, I just doing his own thing for a moment." And he was willing to come back, and good to have him back, man. Explorers looking to have a good bounce back season. But that was it for the first 3 live games of the week, and then we got into the premieres, as this was a big one guys are looking for. The new and improved Bisons taking on the newly hired coach from the college series who played for who coached Baylor, went to Baylor, player still from Baylor that is with the Steamers. And his first game, he gets the win. This was probably the most ugliest game that we've seen, just off of in terms of excitement. There was no touchdown
There was an
scored.
uglier one.
You said what?
So there was an uglier one later.
Oh yeah, I forgot about But this one was literally no touchdown scored. I don't think there was another game where no touchdowns got scored like this one. But 9-15 was the final. Um, Man, the Bisons. I do have a question here. Here's a question I have: were the Bisons overhyped? What is their problem offensively? So when you look at this game, what stood out to you as their problem? Because obviously the defense looked the part for the Bisons, but it's the offense that's always been the struggle the last couple of years for them. What's your thoughts on that? And are the Bisons overhyped? Where do you think they finished this year?
I mean, I don't think they're overhyped. I said coming into the year that I think they were improved, but I don't think they were a playoff ready team yet. I think even
You kind of cut out. You there? Like no audio is coming through your mic.
so it's not like, am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay, yeah. Um, yeah, I don't think they're overhyped. I think they're properly hyped. I don't think they're the dumpster fire team that they were last year, but I don't think they're all of a sudden readable bound.
It must be something with your internet, but it's cutting you off. And I could tell in real time, like me and you talking. So it's got to be something on your end. This is a new laptop. Can you hear me, Forbes? He's still going. Oh, man. Forbes. Is something going on here? What's going on? Brody. Hey, can y'all hear me? I want to make sure this is not me. Y'all able?
Just right outside of
Oh
the
my goodness.
playoffs work. I just think they have a lot more they need.
Bro, I was talking for a whole minute. Like, I don't know. It's got to be something on your end, but it's like legit Xing you off, like from talking. It cuts you completely off. Everybody's saying they can hear me, so I don't know if there's something going on internet wise, but like, yeah, you were going for a
So
good minute.
you can hear me. So you can hear me
I can hear you now.
now.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Was my camera still working? And I was just
everything was working. I don't know what's going on. The audio just was not there. Like we were seeing you talking, and we just like, why is nothing coming out? Like it looks like
well,
it's all right now though.
basically all I was saying is that I was basically saying that it's just mostly from that game. It looked like it was just a lot of conservative play calling, and they just have a lot of work they still need to do to become the playoff team that they think they can be. You know, they're gonna have to show us they can be one first, and it all starts really with Torres. So, yeah, I think they're properly rated. I don't think anyone expected more from them. They made all these moves, but it wasn't like everyone's like, "Oh man, the Bisons are going to win it all now."
Yeah.
So I think people just
You still there? You there, Forbes? Oh man. Internet's roundhousing my guy right now. Can you hear me? Or no? It's like showing everything, but like you have no audio coming out.
might have expected them to do too much too quick. Let me close that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it wasn't doing that in the beginning, so it's definitely gotta be something like maybe you got too many tabs up or something. I don't know. I did hear you said you was just about to close something. So let him go ahead and check Verizon real quick, see what he got going on. Might be bad weather conditions. But yeah, I guess to speak on this, I do agree with Forbes. I feel like, their defense is looking pretty good. They're looking the part. It's just the offense. There's a lot of read option getting called too with Torres trying to get him to use his legs and try to be more of a run offense. But it just wasn't working because the read option was just getting called too frequently. So one thing that is in the works for next week for them is just they're going to be in a completely different offensive playbook. So they are looking to change things. From that, and we'll see if that keeps Torres more so in the pocket, throwing when he needs to, and more touches for the rookie, the sensational rookie Bo Sanders, and his counterpart with Trishan Price. But we'll see if Forbes is all right for this one. Huskies and
Oh, I'm up.
Aviators.
Let's see if I do.
You're like, why is everything coming in late? Let me see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop.
Can you hear me now?
Let me see. Yeah, I can hear you now. Say something
So
again.
maybe. Hello.
Okay, you look like you're in sync now, so you should be straight.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, but yeah, now we're on the Huskies and Aviators game, man. 31-13. I mean, we kind of figured that this game was going to go this way, with just how talented the Huskies are, and of course where the Aviators are, and just developing their guys, just looking to make something happen out of nothing, just to see where they're at with their youngins, especially KC. But yeah, the Huskies did their thing, and so did the rookies. You had both the first 2 round draft picks that the Huskies had. In round 1, Diamond Armani got an interception, and then in round 2, picking up at defensive end position, Sina Anawai, he had 3.5 sacks. So I mean, this is a guy who can throw his hat in for ARC Defensive Rookie of the Year, with that type of performance, and of course he'll be playing more games, but thoughts on this matchup here, or anything coming out of it?
I think this is exactly what we expected the Aviators to be this season. It's just going to be a team that a lot of other teams circle when they're playing. They're the lowest overall rated team in the RFL with a not so good offensive line, and we know how important trench play is this year, especially with all the coach abilities. So I expect this to happen a lot more often. If the Aviators plan to win games, it's gonna have to be on Casey Robinson back, and they're gonna have to win games 38-31 because he threw 4 touchdowns. I just don't think their defense has the talent to match with everybody, and I don't think their offense has the talent around Casey Robinson yet to match anybody. So I think this is going to be a long season for the Aviators. but we knew that when they drafted Casey Robinson in the first round, he was drafted there not to have, you know, high expectations, just to grind, do your job, get your reloads, and develop. But it was a great get right game for the Huskies week 1, and that's all you could ask for.
Yeah, I got no further questions for this one, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Good win for the Huskies. 6 p.m. Eastern. Man, this was a classic if you were watching. The Voyagers besting the Crusaders, coming back from behind and getting it done. The Crusaders led a majority of this game, and it almost looked like the game was really in the bag, but Monty Wyatt, or Monte Wyatt, I think that's how you say it now. And they stopped hitting the T, but Monte came through and he had 2 rushing touchdowns in this one. That last one was the one that sent them over with the extra point to win this one, 21-20. My question, of course, is thoughts on the game, and my main question is, does Baker's resilient comeback win over the Crusaders in this one show that the Voyagers are still a threat in the ARC South and in general in the league to have to worry about if you got him on the schedule?
I think he's definitely a threat in the ARC South. I think the ARC South is one of the weaker divisions in football. In the RFL, between them, it's them, the Dreadnots,
Sentinels, and Armadillos.
Sentinels, and Armadillos. So I think they I think they have a great shot in the ARC South. In terms of the league as whole, I think he's showing that they're still a feisty team. They're showing that they might not have the talent stacked all around the roster that they used to, but Baker knows how to will his team to wins, and we're seeing that. It's just going to be more so of a matter of how often can he do that, and can he do that at the right times?
Yeah, that was a huge one.
So yeah, in terms of this game though, yeah, I think it was just a great way to, obviously not his first RFL start. He started most of last season, but as Baker's been pointing out, this is supposed to be the Monte Wyatt, you said? Not Monte, Monte. Monte Wyatt's, Voyagers era. This is, it's time for him to take over. This is his team, and you couldn't have asked for a better start getting a game-winning rushing touchdown from your quarterback.
That was big time right there. Nothing further there in terms of questions, so we're going to go ahead and move on. 6 p.m. Eastern, same time. We had the Dreadnots and the Sentinels talking about the other teams in the ARC South, and it was the Dreadnots who got their first South Division win as they bested the Sentinels easily, 32-15. Had the leading rushing performance from Cam Perkins, had 175 rushing yards and some touchdowns in this one. I believe it was 3. I might be wrong on that, but I think it was 3 touchdowns, if not 2. Sorry for going off the top of my head with that one, but the Dreadnoughts just flat out dominated this one. And then also I do have a question with this game, and that is, what are the expectations of Matt Jones and the thoughts on Owen Jack being benched, because this was still fairly new after we had our podcast last week. What's your thoughts on that whole situation? And do you feel like Matt Jones is going to be the guy the entire year for San Antonio? He only had 1 touchdown. Okay. 2-point conversion.
Yeah, he only had 1. Matt Jones threw 2.
Gotcha.
But I think the quarterback controversy, in terms of the expectations for Matt Jones, I think it's to not lose.
Yeah.
I think he's being thrown out there to be a game manager type of quarterback and to lean on Perkins and for Perkins to be the bell cow of this offense. The team is gonna go how Perkins goes. It doesn't matter if it's Matt Jones or Owen Jack. It feels like Coach Frankie just put out the quarterback he thinks will not lose them the game compared to who's gonna win him the game. That's what it feels like. I said this last week. I don't think Owen Jack has done anything to be benched. Just Frankie feels like going into this season, Matt Jones gives him a better option to win. And I think if Matt Jones keeps playing like this, where he's throwing 2 touchdowns, he's not turning the ball over, and Perkins rushes for 175, we're not going to see Owen Jack come back in. But when we get to those games where they're shutting down the run and it's on Matt Jones's shoulders to carry the offense, if he can't get the job done in those times, is when Owen Jackson can get his time to shine again.
Um, just to speak on it too, I do feel like this is just also a situation that Coach Frankie is trying to really gauge his quarterback. And what I mean by that is, yeah, he could have definitely went with Owen Jack in this game, but and for this season to start out. But I feel like okay, he knows he's on that contract year. On top of that, that having being in that contract year, uh, he's a user who's been here for a while. There hasn't been too much activity from him, and there's been some mediocre play in seasons that that we expected the Dreadnots to do more and be better. And I feel like Frankie just probably had his sit down, his conversation with Owen Jack and said, "Hey man, I'm not comfortable moving with you forward because I have not received the expectations of you really wanting to be here as a starter, the productions of you really wanting to be here." And so, he just decided, and this is my interpretation. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Frankie, but I do feel like he just said, "Hey, bro, if you're not here, you're not getting the reloads, you're not showing you want to be here, then you won't play here, and we won't re-sign you." And so I think that if he shows all those things, that there's a chance where if I'm going to spend this money on you to be on this team, then you need to show me that. So I think this coach Frankie putting his foot down. He feels he has a good enough team and a good enough backup to get it done, and that's what he's doing. And Frankie says he had a talk like that last year. Yeah, so like, yeah, I think this is really what that's all about. I mean, he's still got a good enough team to win. We know Matt Jones has done well at the starting position before, and he did well in his first game. We'll see if that continues. Going on, this was a huge one, an upset as the Pioneers dominated the San Diego Red Dragons. No one expected this outcome. The Pioneers has been a team that's just been on the up and up the last 2 years, and I mean to blow out the Red Dragons. They got the home field advantage, but to beat them by 20 points, 27-7, and in the performance we got from Javier Santana, man, I think this guy definitely solidified that. Hey, I'm the starter and I'm not going anywhere. My question from this is this the year the Nears become playoff bound? What did that dominant victory tell you? And then also, what's your thoughts on Javier Santana, how great he has looked with his job pretty much being on the line since the start of the season?
I'll say, I was definitely a Javi hater in the preseason. I saw how Kyle Bain played with the starters, but I'm here in week one and preseason week three. I'll say it. I mean, Javi's definitely shut me up. He's had a great preseason week three, a great week one, getting a 20-point win, and I think he's definitely deserving of staying the starter for the Pioneers. What I'm really concerned about is I feel like the Red Dragons beat themselves more than the Pioneers won the game. Now, I think Zach Tank had a great 50-yard rushing touchdown that really capped off the difference. 58-yard rushing touchdown that really split this game. I think it was really close, and that game happened. You can just see the momentum change.
I think they
But
went
I'm
for
just
that on
looking at it,
fourth
and
down too, and then he just bounced it outside,
yeah,
outran everybody. So that was a tough touchdown to give up.
yeah. And then you just started seeing the sacks pile on. Savoy took 7 sacks. He threw 2 interceptions. And I think the Red Dragons have an offensive line issue. I think they really need to address their offensive line. I think they really need to have a talk with Savoy. It's now a couple seasons in a row now where Savoy's been very hit or miss. But going back to the Pioneers and whether they're playoff bound for the first time, I think they definitely could be. I think they're in that range. I think the issue that we have with the Elks is that there's just a lot of NRC teams that are really good and really stacked that have a lot of expectations. In the ARC, I think we have our top few, like the Huskies come to mind right away, and the Miners come to mind right away. But there's not as many teams that you can just name off the top of your head. 6 quick teams that these teams are definitely going to make it. So the ARC is much more wide open. and the Pioneers could easily slide into the 6 or 7 seed without anyone even realizing.
Yeah, that was a great performance right there. Again, shout out to Zach Tank, his first RFL career start, over 100 yards rushing in that game, and of course scoring. Javier Santana showing that, hey, for me, the height is not an issue. And I mean, he was throwing a rock, man, looking like a vet out there. Was not expecting that type of performance, especially 2 weeks back to back and against the Red Dragons. But again, we talk about the offensive line and those pieces. Defense was a little bit, iffy to look at as well. And it goes back to some of those moves, that Davis probably made. He got rid of a good young linebacker that's now over there in DC, who was a big hitter. I'm blanking on his name, but
Don Watts.
Don Watts, yeah, Don Watts. And so, like, you lose a guy, impact player like that you could develop on, and he's got draft picks coming his way in the future and everything. But, a couple of those moves now have him, an aging team. It's kind of like how the Celtic Tigers are coming into this season. It's finally catching up to this franchise, and so we'll see what Davis does moving forward.
Yeah. Before we move on, you already did. It's okay. Just going off because it brought up a good point that I noticed in this. Going with the D line because they had, I want to say it was CJ Corp.
CJ Corp
was the D tackle there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Looking at it now, their current best. Let me check before I lie. Yeah, their current best defensive tackle, who he has at number 1 at D tackle, is the rookie Ishmael Ibarra, and he's a 71 overall.
Yeah, that's going to make a difference.
That's their current number 1 D tackle. Their current starting edge rusher and Seth Brewer, who's a second year player, is their current starting rush end, is a 74. They're starting 275 under 75 overall players on the D line, and it kind of shows why Zach Tank got whatever he wanted. It shows why Javier had all the time in the pocket what he wanted. So I feel I agree with you. I think this is a team that kind of went under the radar because we were talking about how much CT regressed, how much the Condors regressed, that we didn't realize how much the Red Dragons defense was regressing.
Yeah. And the final game of Wednesday that went at 8 p.m. Eastern as well was the Barons and the Miners. The Miners at home getting it done, 24-14 over the Barons, and it was just a big performance from Stevie Franchise, as Dunn likes to call him, as he had a franchise running back performance for sure, with 3 touchdowns and 154 rushing yards. I believe it was the second most this week for a running back. So a great performance from him, and still a tough battle. And it wasn't easy, but they walked out of it. The Barons could not stop the run game, and old Dunn got his vengeance back. I'll play the bell on Nick Oakwood, because he cracked the guy last time they played in the preseason, but vengeance in the regular season where it matters most. He ended up getting pancaked by a rookie himself on the offensive line. I forgot his name, but you said who?
Greg Dunham, I think.
Yeah, Greg Dunham. Yeah, Greg Dunham in, all right. But yeah, 24-14, the final score. Let me see, is there any questions? Oh yeah, there's a question I do have for this. Are you concerned about the Barons' offense after their performance against the Miners?
So actually, I think it was Chuck Bynum, not Greg Dunham.
Okay.
I got the name close. I think it was Chuck Bynum.
All right.
And
that kills my joke, but go ahead.
I'm not too concerned. Like I just said in the last game, I think the Miners are one of the top 3 favorites in the ARC right now. So playing on the road, going into Sacramento, and then losing by 10 off of a 150-yard 3 touchdown performance from their running back, it sucks. But I wouldn't say start ringing alarm bells yet. Jabri Jackson's only been in Brooklyn for 4 games now. It's his first full game. Threw a touchdown pass, had 75% completion. I think they just need more time to gel. And so I think the Barons will be fine. They just need more reps going into the season. It's a long season. I definitely think this is a team that we see sneak into a wild card spot still.
And so that was it for the Wednesday games. We get into Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, Gunners versus Snowhawk. Gunners made it a bit competitive, got within 8. The final score was 31-23, but it was definitely the Snowhawks game. That first half was iffy, though. We had a crazy turnover performance from Joseph Gidley, which, from times he does that. He threw 2 interceptions, he fumbled, and the Gunners were making it seem like a game. But that second half, things flipped, but honestly, for the most part, the entire game, that defensive front was just ridiculous and wreaking havoc on Tyon Nickerson, as you can see from this photo. He was constantly getting put down on the ground throughout this one. I do not have a question on this one, just based off the fact that we kind of expected this to happen. What's your thoughts on the game?
The exact same thoughts I had on the Huskies Aviators game. This game wasn't as close as the score shows. I feel like once the second half started, the Snowhawks really started putting it on. Now, it was worrisome, Gidley throwing 2 first half interceptions, but, Elijah Walker having 4 sacks in this game led everyone in week 1 with the most sacks, getting 7 sacks total as a team on Nickerson. Is kind of the same thing we said about what was going to happen to the Aviators. If the Gunners want to win games, they're just going to have to put up more points. They're going to have to win games 35-30. They just don't have the defense to hold teams under 15. And so there's just not a lot to say about this game because this is what we expected.
Yeah, going to go ahead and move on. Good win there for the Snowhawks, getting it done. He threw a bomb to J-Mac. J-Mac, he's been killing it on the ground. We expected him to do that. This was a big shocker. We saw the Celtic Tigers get embarrassed in the preseason against the Shamrocks. Like they couldn't stop the running, couldn't stop anything, and the offense couldn't get anything going. They only had 7 points, but they returned the favor at tenfold here in the opener against the Shamrocks. And I guess we'll figure out a name for this rivalry whenever it happens. But these are 2 teams that used to be in the same city of Dublin. Of course, the Shamrocks moved out. The Celtic Tigers represented, of course, the city more with their success and franchise, most successful franchise in RFL history. And they come out here and destroy them, man. 37-14. Had 4 touchdown passes from Justin Jones. He did throw 1 interception, but it was just a lights out performance from him. And they had Tom Wilson in a blender, man. What was your thoughts on this game? And then also, is CT prime for another run this year despite the heavy regression? What do you think?
No, I don't think they're primed for another run this year. I still, at highest, have them second in their own division. I still think the Bulldogs are better. So no, I wouldn't say they're primed for another run. I wouldn't say they're a top 3 to 4 favorite in the ARC. But I will say, I think my favorite performance from this game was Cam Ruggs.
Yeah.
Cam Ruggs is really what started this onslaught because they had either scored only a touchdown or it was their first touchdown. I think they were down 7-0, something like that. But all of a sudden, Cam Ruggs runs this little crosser route, jukes out 2 people, and scores like a 75-yard touchdown. And then all of a sudden, the Celtic Tigers can't be stopped. Every time they're getting the ball, they're scoring. Cam Ruggs ends up scoring another touchdown. So just shout out to Cam Ruggs, 5'9" out of Michigan, looking to be a nice receiver replacement for when Matt Nayani retires.
Yeah, he's definitely been. Even last year he had a great performance. Last 3 years he's been tearing it up. A Devin piece coming into the league for CT and just been having a great connection with Justin Jones, man. I believe Cam Rux was a part of before the college series became a thing. The year before he was a part of the rookie series, and it's cool to see a guy who had to sit on a bench as a generic. Well, he was a user, but pretty much a generic. He never showed up. He ended up just earning his way to the top as their starting slot, and he's been killing it. So great job there. Kind of shocked at the Shamrocks, man. Just probably just getting shell shocked first season jitters. I don't expect the Shamrocks to come out playing like this. I do feel like they're a better team, and we'll see what happens with them though moving forward. Then we had your game, which is the game I think you're gonna say is the worst one score wise to tune into, and it was probably the most boringest game to watch as the Bulls won with all field goals, 9-7. At least there was a touchdown in this one. You guys got it, but didn't get the victory, unfortunately, at the end of it. Uh, as yeah, no, neither team touched double digits. What was your thoughts on this game? And then this is more of a question I'll get into after you're finished talking about that, and I'll get into it though. But what's your thoughts on your game against the Bulls and how this turned out?
Yeah, man. Just let me know when we moved on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was tough,
No,
man.
but no. I mean, it's just like I said last week. It's hard to have a lot of takeaways from either team when you're playing in those kind of weather conditions. Um, Both teams constantly slipping and sliding out of their breaks for receivers. Even just trying to get off the line, you saw receivers slip. We saw Axel and David Jones as soon as they got a handoff, they'd slip. So just sucks for Rivers. His very first RFL game, he gets to play in a tsunami. But hey, the Bulls did their thing. They scored more points. They got to win the game. But I wouldn't say this is really any. I don't think there's any really major takeaways from either team after this game. You can't really say how good the Bulls are, how good the Diablos are in those kind of conditions.
Yeah. My question I do have that I guess I'll pose to the league and you guys to answer yourselves and what you think in the chat is I mean, of course that's just a rain game performance, but do you guys believe that Rivers has what it takes to lead the Diablos to a Relo Bowl this season? Of course, with knowing that, it's tough to get it done with a rookie, but do you think that this year he is capable of doing that? Let me know in the chat. You guys talk on that, and that's actually going to be something that we bring up later, uh, coming up. So just keep that thought. And then we move on to the next game that was at the same time.
Hey man,
Uh,
who said, no, I'm taking your upgrade back.
you said, the Cougars getting their vengeance back on the Hogs who swept them last year. We know the Cougars. I mean, they've already won half the amount of games they won last year off the first game, man. Winning against the Hogs 40-21. This was an all-out just debacle of the Hogs, man. Just Ronnie Shanahan could not hold on to the football. 4 fumbles, 3 of them was definitely his fault, just off of him getting hit and losing it and doing too much. The other one was, I wouldn't necessarily say it was his fault. Player got in the way, pitched the ball, it hit a player's head, and it bounced where it didn't need to go. Ended up going backwards, and the defense scooped it up and scored. And so, uh, technically 33-21 could have been the score here, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's still 30, not 31, I mean 33. That's still 33 points outside of that play in which the Cougars were able to put up here. What's your thoughts on this game? And then my question for this one is, are the Cougars finally back to compete in the playoffs based off of what you saw in that game?
I think the Cougars are definitely back. We had the conversation on division winners last year, and I said I was torn between whether I thought the Cougars or Huskies were going to do it. Ultimately, I went with the Huskies, but I think the Cougars are definitely able to go from. It happens every year. You have a team finish in last place and winning the division the next. It always happens in one of the eight. I think the Cougars very easily could be that team this year. And it was just this wasn't really about the Cougars offense. Dylan Lewis had a very okay day, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 64% completion, had a quarterback rating of under 80. So very okay start. But that defense, 5 sacks, 3 fumbles that they caused. I think they returned 2 of them for touchdowns, which is what the big swing was in here. They had 2 defensive touchdowns. Um, it was just a very suffocating defense. Now, I'd like to see them do this again against not a Ronnie Shanahan led team.
Yeah.
I've already made my concerns with Ronnie Shanahan and the Hogs offense clear, just throughout our podcast. But I think, yeah, I think if the Cougars can keep this kind of suffocating defense, they can go a long way this season.
And I did have a second question, which kind of went into what you were just getting into, and that is, should Cincinnati start Lane Kearney sooner than later, and how soon? Based off of what you saw here from Ronnie Shanahan and his okay, performances in the preseason, and of course last year, having the Hogs dead last in passing offense, and just really only being able to contribute with his legs in crucial moments to clutch out wins. We know that can't always be reliable. Do you think Ronnie Shanahan gets better? Should they keep with him? Or in the next couple of games, if they start dropping when they have opportunities and the games fall more so on his doing, do you think Lane Kearney should be coming in uh, pretty soon?
I think you give him because I'm looking at their schedule. They have a week 9 bye, but I think by week 9, if you're making a quarterback decision, it's probably too late. So I think you give him the first 5 weeks. They play the Red Dragons next week, who are coming off of a disappointing loss. They play the Elks, who, even though they had a great week 1, is still a middling team in terms of talent. Then they play the Pioneers, it'll be their second division game. And then week 5, they play the Condors at home. I think those first 5 games are against not the best talent in the RFL. It's not like they're playing the Steamers, then the Miners, then the Thunderbirds, and the Explorers all back to back to back. So if we don't see enough, like if they start 0-5 against those 5 teams, I think Kearney needs to come in. If they start 1-4, I think Kearney might need to come in. So I think you give it 5 weeks, and Ronnie Shanahan has to show that he can win games in those first 5 weeks.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, he's still their future franchise guy. It's just like this might be a year, if this type of play continues, where he's just going to have to sit out and develop a year, just off of the fact that we there's a better rated quarterback who's been in these moments that can lead a team that's been to the ARC Championship just a season ago, potentially back there with better offensive play. So we'll see how the game goes. But yeah, he's definitely going to have to show us more than he has right now. But I do agree, man. Within that time span, it could be earlier, but we'll see how things go. Of course, as the CPU coach, I'll have my conversation with Ronnie when it gets around there, and so he'll know. But we get into the last 2 premier games, 8 p.m. Eastern. The Tigers versus the Armadillos. The Tigers getting it done. They were the favorites coming into this one, despite being on the road going into Austin. 27-13 is the final score. And the only question I have for this is about last year. Was last year an outlier year for the Armadillos? Do you feel that they are a team that could potentially get anywhere near close to what they did last season, which did shock the league? Or do you feel that, maybe, they just took this L here and they'll be right back? But thoughts on it?
I think they'll probably still finish somewhere, probably slightly worse. I think what really shocked them was that 11-1 start they had. I don't. Obviously, they've lost week 1. I don't think they get anywhere near that again. I think they end up finishing. I think it was 13-4 or 12-5.
12-5.
They had a losing skid.
Mhm.
12-5, a losing skid at the end. I think they're around a 10-7, 12-5 team. Probably closer to 10-7. But when you watch this game, Chumley had 3 fumbles, but like you were saying, with Ronnie Shanahan, there was one play where Chumley just turns around and throws the ball away. Like he
Yeah.
does a 180 and just throws the ball.
Now
And
that
then
I
the
would
Tigers
say is like, can I put that on Chum? No, I think that was a bad play
a
call
Madden
designed
thing.
by Madden to where it's just like an automatic turnover. So I really can't put that on him, but it sucked that happened because that just gave up 7.
Because I think there was 2 plays like that where he just turned around and threw the ball on the ground and the Tigers recovered it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even near the running back. He just turned around and threw the ball backwards.
And you know what?
So if
I'm
those
kind of curious. Do I have my controller? Yeah, I do. So I'm about to go check because I'm curious to know what type of offensive playbook they run because there's a
the
chance that
Armadillos are
he.
running the New Orleans playbook again.
Okay, so for that, I've never seen that in New Orleans. So he might have actually threw that ball backwards himself, or it might have been a play call sheet, a play sheet or something that just had a busted play in it. And so, that's some cause for concern. But it definitely seems like Roland's going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. So I mean, you take away those two fumbles, and take I still think the Tigers win. It might not be by two scores as we're seeing here. It might be something closer to 21-16. Um, but it's hard for Roland to take away anything here as a coach when you have a 14-point swing like that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. I don't think they're going to reach the same highs they reached last year. I think they're going to come back to earth this year. I think they were one of those teams where they were like in a win now situation. They knew they didn't have the talent that everyone else did, but they were just winning games somehow. And we saw them come crashing down to earth the last 4 or 5 weeks. And I think they're just going to start where they should have been. But yeah, it's hard for me to say anything definite when we had those two crazy fumbles.
Yeah. In our last Premier game, we had the Bulldogs versus the Black Knights. And this is, of course, the coveted Battle of London rivalry. It's just been a long-standing rivalry in the RFL. They're in the same division, of course, so we'll see this twice a year. First bout, 19-10, the score. The Bulldogs defense just showing how tenacious they are. They were able to knock around Geno Cannon so much so that they knocked him out after the first quarter. Got a pick six on him, from what you can see from this picture, from Air Tiller, as we like to call him, Shaquille Tiller, taking it back for a pick six. And still was shocked that wasn't that much of a difference after Geno Cannon, he threw that pick six and he sat up for the rest of the game. So he had a lingering injury or was just banged up so bad that they just felt like, hey man, keep this guy at the game. We need to save him for the rest of the season. And D'Anthony Young came in, didn't do all too bad with what he had and what situation he was in with that against that Bulldogs defense. But the Bulldogs, they did their part. They managed to win. But what's your thoughts on this game still being so close as it is? Do you feel like the Black Knights really probably had a chance with Geno Gannon if he didn't get hurt, or do you feel as though that maybe the Bulldogs might be a little stagnant now under the reign of new quarterback, Tajay Gaddy, which could come back to get them in some games this season?
Yeah, I think it more so. I think if Geno Gannon stays in the game, the Black Knights have a serious chance to win. Young only played 3 quarters and took 9 sacks. So
3 sacks a quarter is crazy.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the stats. Geno Gannon had the highest passer rating. Only went 7 of 9 while he was in the game. So if he stays, he probably makes enough plays to maybe edge out a win here. He definitely doesn't take 9 sacks. So that's a game changer. I do think a lot of this had to got lucky in the Bulldogs' favor, because it does look like Tajay was just a little stagnant with the offense. But again, it's week 1. It's his first year going in, so give him some time to grow and get used to the playbook, the teammates, this, that, and the other. But I think the Bulldogs got lucky that their defensive line was just so amazing that they were able to knock out Geno Gannon right away.
Yeah, that was definitely something there. And here's a question just in general that does have something to do with that injury. Will Geno Gannon, Torres, and KC survive this season? These are 3 quarterbacks with 3 of the worst offensive lines in the league. And we already talked about how offensive line is going to be very vital this season. And, we've already seen with all 3 of those guys got the worst lines in the league, man. And they got injured. Do you think that there's one of these dudes don't make it by the end of the season?
I mean, I would say we're definitely going to see at least one huge quarterback injury this year. I think last season it was Wakefield who was hurt for 3 or 4 weeks.
Wakefield, Daryl Johnson got hurt. There was a couple guys at quarterback that did get hurt.
But yeah, with how much teams are getting pressure and sacks this year, with wear and tear being a huge thing this year, I would say either KC or Tyon doesn't make it through the year.
Yeah, definitely 2.
I think Geno Gannon two-time MVP will figure it out. Torres better hopes he figures it out before CJ Johnson tries to come and steal his job.
Mm.
But if I had to say, I would think it would be between Casey and Tyon, because those two quite literally have the worst offensive line. Same thing with McCall. The Elks O line is not very good.
Yeah. Good thing he's good at getting that ball out pretty quickly, so he saves himself in a sense. And then, of course, the game of the week. It was a lot of trash talk on this, but respect at the end. Wasn't too much trash talk in the Discord afterwards. Did get a couple crazy tweets, though, guys, sending shots as expected. But the Steamers are able to show, hey, man, we still run the East, as Justin Jones, his first game back after taking a year off, is able to double the points of the Marshals with a great second half bounce back. 0 points scored and defeated the Marshals 26-13. It was a great performance from Nyshawn Richardson too. They had all the sacks. They had 4 total, and there wasn't a single sack that the Marshals were able to get on Reed Wagner. What's your thoughts on the Steamers? Of course, it was still a good game by the Marshals. What's your thoughts on them as well? And yeah, I guess we could go into that. What's your thoughts on all that?
Hey, the only thing I got to say about the team is that they're back. They come out week 1. Reed Wagner still throws, an interception, still gives the ball up. But Justin Jones, being the coach he is able to right the ship and keep everyone together. Last season, when we saw Reed Wagner do this, things just kind of fell apart afterwards. The team just couldn't really get things back together. But you could tell that they stuck with their game plan. They fed Amir Williams over 100 yards. Their defense got 4 sacks. And I think this all happens because Justin Jones was able to bring them all together as one cohesive unit again. And, shout out to Hogs. I mean, they kept the first half really competitive.
Yeah.
And then things just kind of got out of hand afterwards. I think they went into the half tied 13-13.
Yeah, yep, it was.
Yeah. So just the second half is where I think we just saw the experience difference between the Steamers and Marshals. And the Marshals didn't take their foot off or didn't put their foot on the brake. They kept coming at him, kept bringing pressure on Leo Moon, forced a turnover, and that's what won them the game.
Yeah, big time win right there from Coach Justin Jones, getting that momentum in his favor. And of course, with the team, that's a morale booster just in real life for the guys associated with these teams, or more so the Steamers. And of course, that builds up a lot of anticipation and energy. Looking forward to their last bout of the season in Week 12 when they face each other for the second time as NRC East rivals. You about to say something?
Did you have a question?
No, that was mainly it. I mean, do you have any? There wasn't really too much. I seen good things, from both of these squads. I think, just talking about the game, I think there's nothing you can say about the Marshals where it's just like, oh man, they kind of iffy because again they play good. There's nothing you can say about the Steamers even though it looked ugly at first in the first half. They were looking uncharacteristic. You just typically see that. You see when there's an uncharacteristic performance from a team at some point in the game, they get where they're supposed to get. And but sometimes that can cost the team. Is it late? Is it early? Is it first quarter, second, third? You never know when it is. But for the Steamers, what it was the second half. They made the right adjustments and they just did what they had to do because that defense couldn't stop nothing on third down in that first half. But the second half was a completely different story and they were just plugging those guys. So yeah, nothing I can say about that. Just great game from both teams. And that's it for the Week 1 recap. And we're about to jump into Week 2. But of course, before we get into Week 2, I want to ask you just in general, thoughts on Week 1, man. The final scores and everything. The sliders look, I'm going to be honest, I love the sliders. I love the way every game played. I think every score made sense. Every game just felt real. Of course, you have those moments where it's just some Madden moments, but still, I really like the way that Week 1 turned out. It's a great week to start off the season. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, you just took the words out of my mouth. I think this was the perfect way to start the season. Monday's game, both of Tuesday's games, instant down to the wire classics. Friday's game, we got the return of Coach Jones and the hot start, up and coming Marshals coach and Hodge to end the week with a really good game. And then all the premier games. I mean, I think there was only, let's see, I'm looking one. There were 3 total games that were more 4. There was only 4 out of 16 games that were decided by two possessions. So a lot of close games, a lot of competitive games. That's what we like to see. I don't think we saw anything too shocking, like you said, and the gameplay looked really, really well. I really enjoyed the defense, all the sacks we're getting, all the big hits that we're seeing. I'm excited to see everything else that's going to happen as we go out through the season.
Yeah, shout out to the $5 donations we got from Richardson. He says the Richardson house produces nothing but the best defensive products. And you got hashtag nah son, hashtag Jed in there. And then we got Harvey says it's just one game, people. Only time will tell who's really who. Of course, yep. But we gotta be like ESPN and start stirring the pot with these questions. But yeah, I just love the way that first week went in terms of like the variety of scores. What you said?
I said, yeah, Hodge, your team sucks. Storylines.
But yeah, you just saw everything: low scoring games, mid scoring games, high scoring games, with some blowouts. But it was just nothing but great games, man, the whole week. And to have that to start off, I mean, it just makes you so excited for how the rest of the year is going to go. Who's going to make the playoffs? So much stuff to come that we're not even close to getting to yet, man. So just amazing. With that being said, I wanted to make a graphic for it, but I just didn't have the time. But I'll talk about it. Offensive players of the week. I got a fire graphic too for these. You guys will be able to see it on social media, and I plan on with the players of the week too, cutting up a little edit, a highlight tape that goes behind, that with that player to show what they did that week. But yeah, ARC, of course, we go through them first because that's the first conference to start the league. Offensive player of the year, of the week.
A year.
It keeps playing like this, it could be. But offensive player of the week went to running back Steve Washington of the Sacramento Miners. So shout out to him with that 154-yard performance and 3 touchdowns. And the defensive ARC player of the week went to Shaquille Tiller with his pick 6. He was able to get in that game against Geno Cannon and the Bulldogs, in the Black Knights, in that 19-10 victory. On the other side of the conference, in NRC, offensive player of the week goes to quarterback LC3. Leonard Corbett III, I believe, led all passers in passing yards with over 360 yards. And then for the defensive player of the week, for the NRC, of course, it's the guy who led in sacks, and that was Elijah Walker with 4 sacks he was able to get against the Gunners. We'll see if he keeps that performance up once he goes against more tougher offensive lines. But yeah, those are your players of the week. Sorry, I don't have the graphic for you guys. I'll look to try to get that for you guys though, moving forward next week on the pod. And then now we're going to get into the new top 10 power rankings heading into week 2. So I was about to go into I remember speaking of this the last podcast, and I said I'm just going to go with Neon says, but no, I think I was like, no, I should just do my own predictions on who I think the top 10 teams are right now based off of what we're seeing from week to week. And so those will change and they'll be different. And I want to see what you guys think on my opinions on that. And so let's go ahead and get a look at week 2. We saw week 1. Forbes was the guy that I had at number 1 that I feel is going to go to the Reload Bowl. And this is why I said this question was to hold on to it and wait for it later. That has changed. I moved you down a slot. You went down to 2. And it's mainly because of, what is Colorado Rivers going to do? So that circles us back to that question. Of course, this is nothing for us to talk about because I already know how you feel on it, but that's just for the community to discuss in the chat. But the top 10 rankings after week 1 goes as follows. I got the Snowhawks at the top spot, despite Joseph Gidley, having a rough first half start. I just think that team is talented, man. So you have to throw them up. I feel like if you get in the NRC and it goes down to the wire, we get to the playoffs, and it's these two teams versing each other. What is the difference? What's the biggest component that's going to make the decide who wins this game? And I think it goes down to quarterback play. And if you're gonna choose between a rookie and Joseph Gidley, a guy who's been here before, who's done it, who's went to a Reload Bowl before, unfortunately never won one, but you got to go that way. So that's why I have the Snowhawks at number 1. Of course, Diablos fall just a slot to 2. At number 3, I have the Bulldogs still in the same spot. The Memphis Steamers still in the same spot. This was a change up from last week, as I did have, I believe that was the Thunderbirds up there. Thunderbirds dropped 2 spots from 5 to 7. The Explorers jump up to 5. And then we have the Huskies moving up as well, going to 6. And then 8 and 9 staying the same with the Louisville Lumberjacks and Sacramento Miners. And then at 10, I threw in the Dallas Desperados because, I mean, that's a team that at the end of the day, I mean, they did take down the Thunderbirds. They still showing that they're a team that, even though their roster may not seem like it's all that, they still can win. And they got a great quarterback and running back. So, what's your thoughts on the new top 10 rankings? And what would you change? Who would you throw in? Let me know in the chat. And also let me know what you're thinking for us.
I think I would definitely. I think I would switch me and the Steamers right now.
Okay. So you put the Steamers over the Bulldogs,
I mean, I would.
too?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would have the Steamers. I would have the Steamers and Snowhawks like 1A, 1B right now.
Okay.
I think the Snowhawks just looks too iffy for me to say, yeah, they're definitely the best team. With Joey G still throwing a bunch of boneheaded interceptions, still getting sacked a lot right now.
Yeah.
So I'd have the Steamers up there. And I think I'd have the Miners. I want to say I want the Miners higher. I just don't know. I'd say I think I'd have the Miners. I'd flip the Miners and Lumberjacks.
Right.
I'd put them one spot higher at least. And then let's see, with the Desperados at 10, who can I put in there instead? Because I can't stand to have the Desperados in the top 10. I can't have that. With how everyone played last week, no, I can't have the Tigers there either. They're in my division. Man, the Condors just had to lose. I'd put the Cougars top 10 right now. I'd have them at number 10.
Okay. So
because I can't have other NRC South teams in here. I just can't do it.
Craziness, madness. But yeah, so that's the top 10 power rankings for week 2. Stay tuned, of course, next week for the new one coming out for week 3 after we see how week 2 goes. And speaking of week 2, it's time to go ahead and check out what the games are. As here we go. We were just literally talking about this. We look all the way down to the last game, which we'll get to. Hey, Steamers got a chance to prove that they can get higher than the Snowhawks, as those two teams meet each other in the game of the week, 8 p.m. Eastern on Friday. It's going to be crazy, but let's go ahead and start at the top. Opening up the week, we have the Pioneers and the Condors in their second home game. And with that being said, I've got an announcement to make. I'm going to be making a graphic for this, getting the time, but every team, I don't know if guys know about the Backbreaker Football League. The football game is really what started the RFL, my idea of it. And so I paid homage to, really designing the Backbreaker football uniforms for teams that share the same city as those teams that was in that game. And every second home game that these teams play in, they will have to wear their throwback uniform. And so unfortunately, we recorded the Thunderbirds game already, so they were supposed to be in their Atlanta Firebird uniforms, but unfortunately, that's going to have to hold off to their next home game. But to open up the week, we're going to see the San Jose Condors as the San Jose Coyotes, and the color scheme is even going to be different, of course. On that, but both teams came out good performances. Condors fell short in their game against the Elks, and the Pioneers, came out with a dominant win. Who do you think gets it done? I'm gonna give my spreads on what I have here, though. I forgot I have that loaded in Discord, ready to post. I'll go ahead and post now for guys to be able to look at. But I have the Pioneers winning this one on the road, going 2-0, by a field goal or more.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you with the way the Pioneers looked. This past week, I know the Condors didn't look bad. I just think the Pioneers looked better, and I'm going to take the Pioneers to have a 2-0 start.
Yeah. Uh, Next game Tuesday. You'll be in the booth calling this one. Bisons getting their first live game in the regular season, along with the Sentinels. As the OKC Bisons will have the home field advantage. I'm going to go with the Bisons here in this one, though, to get it over the Sentinels by 3 or more points. Of course, it was a tough loss for them against the Monarchs. I have been saying this. I do feel like the Monarchs are better than we expected, and it really depends on than we think, what the community thinks, excuse me, and really depends on Rodney Goins. But I think they bounce back here. The home field advantage. They're ready to get it going. Sentinels didn't look all too great in their opening game either. The defense looked good, and there's going to be some adjustments, of course, made for the Bison's offense, which I think could work out for them. So I'm taking the Bisons by a field goal or more in this one.
I think I'm also going to take the Bisons in this matchup. I think this is one of the few games where their defensive line is overwhelmingly better than the opponent's offensive line, with Carter Delahart, with James Estes, with Ethan Marks, Alvin Mack roaming the middle. I think they have enough defensive firepower in that front seven to put a lot of pressure on DWJ, and how the Sentinels have had to reconstruct their offense due to salary financial reasons. I think I take the Bisons here.
All right, then following that game, 9 p.m. Eastern in the booth, Pecan going to be in Chicago. The Chicago Cougars are going to turn themselves, since this is their second home game, into the Chicago Talons from the Backbreaker Football League as they face off against Coach Dunn and the Miners. Both teams, of course, winning their opener. Who gets the win here? I've got the Miners, though, by 4 or more points.
I'm going to take the home team in the Cougars in this matchup. I think they matched their win total from last year in the first 2 weeks of the season.
How about that, man? So those are the first three lives. Kicking off the premier games Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. We got the San Antonio Dreadnots going into it's not Salt Lake City, St. Louis, to take on the Aviators in KC. I am going with the Dreadnots to go 2-0 with a 10 or more point victory over the Aviators on the road.
I'm going to take the Dreadnots with the spread. I can't pick the Aviators until they give me a reason to pick them.
Another 4 p.m. game, Huskies versus Gunners. Saw the Huskies go up against one of the worst offensive line teams and have a sack fest. And they got another team, which you talked about with Tyon Nickerson, where they have one of the worst offensive lines as well. So a game where I feel like they should feast again. And I've got the Huskies by more than a touchdown.
The exact same thing I just said before. I'm going to have to go against the Gunners until they show me a reason to pick them. So I have the Huskies with the spread.
All right, 6 p.m. Eastern games, Crusaders versus Marshals. Marshals looking to bounce back, of course, after their upsetting loss in their division to open the season. And of course, same deal for the Crusaders, man. That was a game they should have had in the bag, but gave up a scrambling touchdown to Monte Wyatt to lose that one towards the end with two possession, score swing. They're looking to go into DC to get that done, though. I don't think they do. I think the Marshals are going to bounce back. I got the spread here by 5 or more points.
Yeah, I think I very easily take the Marshals here. I've said this before with the Crusaders. I just feel like they're a good team on paper. They're just always missing something when we watch them play and we see them in the file. They just never feel complete. And I know how much work Hodges put in this offseason. I just can't see him starting the season 0-2.
Elks versus Lumberjacks. Got the Elks, coming off a great win. Lumberjacks almost getting the big win over the Explorers, losing in overtime. But I do think that the Lumberjacks bounce back, and they do give McCall and the Elks their first L of the season by 4 or more points.
Yeah, the Lumberjacks are just a better team, so I'm going to go with them.
All right. 8 p.m. Eastern games on Wednesday. Black Knights versus Armadillos. I'm going with the Black Knights in this one. I feel like, okay, Geno Gannon is back. Hopefully he doesn't get as banged up as he did against the Bulldogs, but I do not feel like the defensive front of the Armadillos is nearly as talented. And so I'm going to go with the Black Knights and Geno Gannon getting it done by a field goal or more.
Also going to go with the Black Knights and Geno Gannon. Um, I know Geno Gannon's upset about already hurting his MVP case after missing 3 quarters of Week 1.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to come back out here and just light up the Armadillos to get back on track.
And then we have the old rivalry back in the NRC North back in the day. Columbus Explorers stayed, but the now New York Barons, who used to be Brooklyn Barons, have moved on into the East. And is it the East? I'm tripping. Yeah, it's the
In the
East.
North,
The Barons. Oh, they are still in the same division. I'm tripping. So
yeah,
yeah,
they're still the
rivalry's
same.
still going on. I don't know why I'm thinking about something else. Oh, the T-Birds I'm thinking about. All right, never mind. But yeah, I got the Explorers winning this one. They look good against the Lumberjacks. I got them winning by 6 or more points over the Barons.
I'm going to go with the Explorers here, but I don't think, especially with this being a divisional game and the Barons being home, I think this ends up being more of a 1 to 2 point win. But I do have the Explorers winning.
Okay. Then we get into the Thursday
You guys,
games. What you said?
so you got something in your eye?
I mean, no. I mean, I got the thing blocked, so they. I mean, yeah. So it's just they're just looking at the screen here, so I'm just like looking off. I'm not paying attention to the camera. But yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern games Thursday. Bulls and the Shamrocks. Uh, I got the Shamrocks bouncing back. I think they get it done. This is the lowest spread I believe I have by 2 or more points.
I think I'm going to take. I feel, this definitely deserves to be one of the lowest spreads because I think this is the closest game. Um, I'm going to take the Bulls. That way, the Shamrocks start 0-2 and they're in the NRC.
All right. Then we have the Monarchs and the Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds, of course, losing their opener in heartbreaking fashion. And the Monarchs getting their first win for their brand new coach. I'm going to take the Thunderbirds here by 10 or more points.
Yeah, this is a game the Thunderbirds should easily win. They're definitely a team on a different level than the Monarchs.
Yeah, and then we get into the 6 p.m. Eastern games on Thursday. Voyagers versus Celtic Tigers. After the performance I've seen the Celtic Tigers have, and the Voyagers, I just feeling like in their division in the South at first starting off the season, I don't think that they're going to finish in the top 3. And I think they might. I predict them to finish last. Despite their comeback win against the Crusaders and the struggle it was to win that, I'm taking the Celtic Tigers by a field goal or more.
Yeah, I think just based off of Week 1 and what we just saw the Celtic Tigers do, and how Monte still hasn't put it all together yet, I'm going to go with the Celtic Tigers.
All right, then we have the Hogs and the Red Dragons. Uh, both teams having their struggles, but I'm going to go with the Hogs. I just feel like to lose in the fashion they did, the Red Dragons. Uh, there's a lot of things missing with this team, and Ronnie Shanahan just needs to piece it together. I think he can put together a good enough game to beat the Red Dragons. So I'm going to take the Hogs in this one, my field goal or more.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Hogs here as well. Um, I think the Red Dragons just don't have the trenches to be good in this Madden, and that's really going to hinder them. So I'm going to go with the Hogs to beat the Red Dragons.
All right, then we have the 8 p.m. games. Diablos, your team versus the Desperados. Of course, you don't have to go over this, so I'll just let say what the spread is. I got you guys winning though by a field goal or more. It always makes for great games with the rosters involved and everything. And of course, have you guys as one of the top teams. But 2 teams right there in the top 10 I have for the top 10 power rankings. Then we'll move on to the other 8 p.m. Eastern game. The Bulldogs versus the Tigers. Looked against the the Black Knights not being able to put up the points that I think they should have, especially after Geno Gannon left the game. The Tigers are a much improved team. I do feel like the Tigers have a shot to, potentially upset these guys, but I'm going to go with the Bulldogs with just the talent that they have, despite having a brand new coach.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Bulldogs. I think the Tigers are coming up in the league, but I don't think they've reached the Bulldogs level yet.
And of course, the game of the week: Snowhawks versus uh, Steamers. Of course, my power rankings already tells you, who I think is the better team. So I'm going with the Snowhawks in this one, and this is an opportunity for the Steamers to really put the league on notice if they can take down, the Snowhawks with the home field advantage and prove to 2-0. Who you think comes out on top of that one?
I'm actually going to take the Steamers. I think they upset, I guess in your case, the Snowhawks, but I think the Snowhawks have just been too iffy for me. I haven't seen a strong performance from them yet outside of their defensive line, and I think the Steamers and Justin Jones know how to negate that. So I'm going to take the Steamers to beat the Snowhawks.
All right, so that is week 2 schedule and predictions. And yeah, what a week we have, man. From what we saw the week before and to open up the season, week 1, I mean, these matchups, we got some great ones as well, man. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know where's the thumbnail at? Here it is. Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. I guess out of that matchup, out of that game, I would ask, what game are you most excited to watch? But I think everyone's got that calendar,
It's
got
going to be
that
Friday.
calendar circled on Friday, man, with the Steamers and the Snowhawks facing each other. So not even going to ask that question. And so with that being said, that's it for the topics we had to cover on the podcast. So that leads us to the fun facts with Pat. So if you guys looking to earn some reloads, here you go. See if you know the answers to these questions. So question number 1 from Pat goes as follows. Hold on, I'm gonna get set up here. I'm gonna ask the question. There are now 2 players with 800 career receptions. One is a tight end. Who are they?
There are now 2 players.
Yep, there are now 2 players with
So
800 receptions.
does that mean does someone have 100 or someone have 800 then someone got 800,
They both
or
have 800 or more receptions in their career right now.
like did they both pass 800 this last week, or did someone already have 800 before last week?
I think this is after last week,
Yeah.
after this past week.
Okay.
Let me see. Pat, if you're in the chat, man, just type the name of whoever gets it right. Ten, nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close. All right. Hit close. Can you type close, Forbes? So that way we know when it ends.
Yeah, let's see, let me go open it.
You guys get some extra seconds to win 500 here. Close. There it is. So no one got it. The answer is Rainey Shropshire, the tight end from San Antonio, longtime Cincinnati Riverhog, or Portland Riverhog from his days of playing, and Keith Guyton from the Toronto Huskies just hit 800 receptions in his career, 821 for Rainey Shropshire though. All right, so 500 points going to Pat. But it don't even matter. He can't even upgrade his player since he's on a different team as a coordinator. He said, "I got it. I said that." When did he say it? You put them both together?
Shropshire and Guyton.
Shropshire and Guy. I didn't see
He said,
Shropshire. Unless he's joking.
you said Guyton and Rainey, Guyton and Nacho.
Did he say Guyton and Rainey?
Yeah, you never said them together.
Yeah.
He never said them together.
Yeah, you gotta put them together, brother. Gotta put them together, brother. All right. Question number 2. Who led the RFL in forced fumbles for season 9?
Nacho and Nayani, not Nayani and Dexter, Nayani and Rainey, Guyton and Nacho, Guyton and Rainey, Leach.
Who said Guyton and
Nacho
Rainey?
Cheese.
Guyton and Rainey was it. What did he say? But did
Oh,
he say
then Cubot. Yeah, Cubot.
Okay.
Yeah, then
right,
Cubot.
All
right. Who led forced fumbles in season 9?
Yep. Can't even check the stats now because, of course, Neon had to reset. So you'd have to know this guy.
Who led the RFL in forced fumbles? Let's see. If I had to give a hint, I think it has to be. If I had to guess, I'd guess an edge rusher. Because I don't think hit sticks were forcing that many fumbles last year.
I barely really got hit sticks like that too last year.
So if I was guessing, I'd guess an edge rusher.
10
or D tackles.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, close.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to type it.
Yeah, I thought you were doing it. All right, yep. And so no one got that one. The answer is Bobby Boucher of the Red Dragons. He had 5.
Okay.
I felt like guys weren't going to remember him.
No.
We got 4
that
questions.
Also shows if I.
You said what?
I mean, if 5 was the most, that means fumbles weren't really being forced last year.
Yeah. All right. Question number 3. Which team lost its week 1 game for 5 straight seasons before ending the streak with a victory last week? I'm not going to have too much time on
I feel like this question is easy.
Yeah, it's easy. So
yeah, this should be easy.
20 seconds on this.
The Bisons didn't win week 1.
10.
The Marshals
9,
didn't win week 1.
8.
The
7,
Hogs didn't win week 1.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Closed.
Is it the Pioneers? Let's see. Pioneers or the Monarchs are good guesses.
We got one. Did you close it yet, Forbes?
I said closed.
Okay. Came in later. All right, but we got one. And it goes to Amari Harris. It's the Tampa Bay Tigers. 5 straight years of losing. Tigers got their first week 1 opening win, beating the Armadillos 27-13.
Well, he got it like 5 seconds. He must have said it like half a second before I put it in.
So that is 500 reloads for Amari. And our last question of the night, Pat had 4 of them, is there are 2 RFL teams, one NRC, one ARC, who have never lost a week 1 game. Name them. That's crazy.
This one's a little harder. Yeah. Dang, that's true. The Tigers got their first week 1 win against Roland. All right, there's Hogs.
Not seeing it yet. These some good questions, Pat. Love it, man. They always have some good ones. 20 seconds.
I've never lost a week 1 game.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close. All right. The answer is, I didn't see anyone get it. The Columbus
The
Explorers
Explorers and
and San
Voyagers.
Antonio
Oh.
Dreadnots. The Dreadnots have never lost an opening game of their franchise season. That shocked me, man. I didn't know that. There you
Yeah,
go,
for the
Frank.
Dreadnots, one.
Yeah, they never lost one. All right, so that is all the fun facts with Pat questions, and we are done here, guys. So, if you have any questions you want to ask us here live for us to answer, go ahead and put it in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and close out of this one at 10:10, so 6 minutes. If we don't get any questions, we'll go ahead and end it early. And we'll end it off. He said he changed his. He's thinking about putting the dreads. Tough. He said, "Okay, here's a question from Pat to me. Hey, Smitty, in the future, if I do earn anything, can you make it like a game show and kick it into next week's jackpot?" Uh,
I don't know how
yeah,
that'd work because there's multiple questions.
yeah, yeah. I don't. I'll probably, yeah, I'll probably leave that as is. Um, that's a decent idea, but I think guys can really stack up kind of in the sense of that. So I guess would it be like Devil? Guess it'll be like Devil or something like that. We'll think. I'll think on it. I'll think
Yeah,
on
but
it.
like, yeah, but like, which question would you double? Just the first one?
I'll probably tell him to make sure that the last one that he has is the toughest one out of the questions he's got. So that way, that last question is always a jackpot question.
Okay.
Or honestly, make it random and then I'll just yell out jackpot like it's the street game. And like whichever question I think is the hardest, that's the jackpot question in that order.
Okay.
But again, I have to think on that because I don't know about adding that. Because then that'll be a whole thousand for doing 500 points. Guys missing. Say if somebody goes a week where like all 4 questions don't get answered, it's just 2,000 reloads for somebody out of nowhere. But I mean, that
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a bad idea, though. I mean, shoot, gets into the podcast, makes you want to learn the history. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I kind of like it. I do kind of like it. Yeah, the real ones remember jackpot, man. Jackpot for 500 or 1,000. Throw that football up in the air, somebody got to catch it. Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions. That was a great question right there for us to, add some more innovative stuff and interactive stuff to the podcast. Got 3 more questions. I mean, 3 more minutes here. I did get a question
Three
here.
more questions.
Okay, it says, "What are your expectations for running back Bo Sanders for the Oklahoma City Bisons?" I'm expecting him to have I'm gonna be honest, 1,000-yard season, at least close to it. I expect him to be the workhorse of the offense, and there's a chance he might not even be able to get there because he is kind of splitting some reps with another great running back in Tristan Price. But those two together are ridiculously dangerous. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be fun to watch. But I do think that Bo Sanders should have a very solid season. Not only rushing but receiving as well for the Bisons this year. Said 10 guys jumping for the ball, right? So Smitty, when you do a uni request for certain games, um, for CPU teams, players, if you're looking at trying to have certain gear on, I only can do it for the home team. So yeah, only the home. Well, actually, we'll have to see. If I get a request from a team, it's got to be before the upcoming week. So I'll put something out for that. So if there's a user players on some of the CPU teams, you're looking at, you already download the RFL uniforms and stuff. You see a uniform you like to wear, let me know, because I mean I don't have the time to sit there and think about it. I'll go through a whole season with no alternates, if it was up to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you guys, if you're on a CPU team and you want to do that, just let me know. He said, "Do you think CT or the Condors have a better chance of getting back to the Reload Bowl, and why?" I don't think either one of them makes it. I just think it's too much regression for CT. It's going to get them eventually, and then also for the Condors, they're pretty good, but without that edge rushing pressure that they used to have, and just not the exact same defense. I think it was the defense that really took them where they needed to go last season. They did still have good offense too, but McCoy's not the same guy. Well, you wouldn't tell on his play on the field, but he's regressed a bit. Um, and yeah, I just don't feel like they get back there, man. It's just one of those things where it was just a great year for them last year. I'll take one more question for 10-10. Just hit 10-10. So I'll give it 10 seconds. See if I see something in there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't see any questions. All right. Hey, man. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in to the 5th episode of the RFL Live podcast. And we've got some big games coming up this week. Once again, a look at that schedule for you guys will get posted on social media. But yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Relocation Football League if you are new. It's your boy Smitty, RFL Commissioner and play-by-play commentator, joined along with Forbes, head coach of the Mexico City Diablos. We'll have Nick's next week too in the booth with us. But until then, we'll see you.